This little package right here is the Jetboil Genesis Basecamp. This little package right here folds out into a dual burner stove and even can be expanded beyond that. So inside of this package, you're going to get everything you need for camp except for a spatula, essentially, and a propane tank. So at about 500 bucks, is this thing worth it? So I'm somebody that really likes budget stuff. So why did I end up going with a Jetboil product like this? Well, I think it's definitely worth it. I use a lot of different stoves, and my biggest problem has been space, size of the unit, as well as BTUs. This thing has pretty much everything that I need at camp, and yeah, I'm really excited to show you guys. So let's go ahead and open it up, show you what you get, and then we'll go ahead and run some tests and see if this thing is worth it for you. Alright, so this is the Genesis Basecamp system. It's about half the size when packed down and opens up to about the same size as any of the other ones. So it's basically, for me at least, the perfect unit. So I really do like that it comes in this little bag here. This is really nice for travel because I can just throw this in my bins or in drawer system and pop it open when I need to use it. Alright, so this fuel regulator is specific to this unit, so go ahead and keep a hold of this one, keep it in that top little pocket on the top of the bag. You can either use one of the 1 pound ones, or I like to use the 5 pound ones with a little adapter. On top you have a 10-inch ceramic coated non-stick fry pan. It's fairly basic, it does what it needs to do, and I do like the retractable handles. I really do like this lid because not only does it pack down real small, it does have a little strainer on the side, and it's see-through so I can see what's cooking in the bottom. And it's also not glass, so I'm not really worried about shattering it. So the unit itself packs down into the 5-liter pot down there. This is what it looks like up close. Looks very rugged, and it really doesn't weigh that much. Alright, so this is the flux pot. It is a 5-liter pot, essentially, that has a little ring around the bottom that lets in more air. This is also great because it keeps the flux pot secure on the unit, so if you're on a hill or if you're, moving around out at camp, you're not going to knock it over and make a mess. Alright, so you're going to open it just by removing these straps right here, and it will just pop right open, and you can see the two 10,000 BTU burners. It's pretty good for this size. I think most units I've had are around 8,000 each, and that one's really great. So there's also this windscreen on here. I'll probably never use this just because I cook in the back of my truck, so I'm pretty guarded from wind, but it's there if you need it. So over here, you're going to put in the fuel input on this side. Like I said, this is specific to this unit. And yeah, it just packs away super easy. Everything you need is right there, ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and start this off cold. This hasn't been turned on in a while, at least a few days. And we're sitting at roughly 5,600 feet, so about a mile up. So that will affect this a little bit. This is going to be 1 liter exactly of water. We're going to test this and see how long it takes 1 liter to boil. And then we'll go ahead and test again at about halfway, or I think like 3 liters in there. And we'll see how long that takes to get to a boil as well. All right, besides picking the windiest day possible, let's go ahead and start it. So inside of this 5-liter pot here, we have 3 liters, possibly more than most people will be boiling, but I wanted to just show you how long it will take to boil 3 liters of water, again at 5,600 feet or so, about a mile above sea level. I think it is important to note that it is a very cold day. It's 5,600 feet of elevation. It's extremely windy, and I didn't use the windshield, so, you know, we'll see how accurate this is compared to the numbers online. All right, so my thoughts on this test. This was the burner I used over here. I did test on this burner, and they do burn at the same rate. Now, I did get a slightly less or lower time than they have online. I think online they have 3 minutes 15 seconds as the boiling time for 1 liter of water. I got around 250 or something like that, so a little bit less, obviously. I think a lot of that has to do with my elevation where I'm at. I don't know the formula for elevation and all that, but I will say that water does boil at a slightly lower temperature at higher elevation, so that is probably why that happened. Did also want to note that there is a half version of this, as well as just the burner as well. I got the whole system, but you can get just the stove itself. That being said, let's go ahead and delve a little bit more into this system. This is everything you're going to get with it. You've got your pot, your lid, you've got a 10-inch pan here, you have 2 burners there, you've also got your connector for your propane, and then on the back you have a windscreen. I don't necessarily need that because I shoot in the back of the truck, so it's not a big deal. And then you've also got your carrying case. Really, the only thing you don't get here is propane and some sort of either tongue or spatula of some sort. So every other thing you would need at camp is right here in that tiny little package there. And like I said, you can expand this with another little boiler, one of their smaller pots. I think the little ones would go off this side, and it would be either, I think, a 1 liter, a 3 liter, and a 5 liter. Although that is 5 liter, so maybe I'm off on the sizes. I'll put the sizes up here. You can expand that if you want to have just like coffee in the morning. Now, I've had the little Jetboil things before, and they are super great, especially for boiling water. But I will say this one right here is super fast. Thanks to some technology on here, this will boil water very quickly, but I really do like, just for coffee or something like that, having that extra little thing. I think that one's called the Luna. I did not buy it, but I'll put it here on the screen and you can learn a little bit more about it. I'll drop a link to that below if you do want to purchase that. Pretty much everything you need at camp is here in a very small package. So coming from someone who used to do like backpacking and had little tiny things roughly about the size of that canister over there, and you know, now that I'm kind of in more of the overlanding category, I still like when things pack down super small. I just don't like taking up a lot of space. Now, you can see in the back of the vehicle I have plenty of space to store stuff, but I would much rather just keep it very small and very minimalist. So let's go ahead and go over some stats on this thing. This right here altogether only weighs about 9 pounds, 9.1 pounds. That is 4.1 kilograms. Now, if you do add that little tiny other burner, that will add a little bit of weight to it, but super light for what you get. So each of these burners here is 10,000 BTUs, which is pretty solid, especially for the size of the burner there. Now, I do really like that for this 10,000 BTU thing here, that you do get a pot with this technology on it. So you're going to be able to get more air in there. And also, this little thing right here makes it so that the pot sits on there on these little things that stick up right here, and it sits there very solidly. Barely moves, and if you're like, let's say on some really unlevel ground, then you're not worrying about it sliding. Now, on the bottom of the pan, we don't get that technology. That would be really cool if it was able to do that, but I'm sure that would throw off the entire system if it had that same bottom to it, but this just has a pretty standard bottom to the pan. So when this thing is fully closed, we are looking at about 10 inches by 7.5 inches or 7.2 inches roughly, so packs down pretty small. Almost every single burner I've had or stove that I've had has been about this size when it's packed up, but this one is roughly about half, and I get everything else that comes with it. So with just 1 pound of propane from here, you can boil up to 48 liters of water, bringing that all the way up to a boil with just one of these little things. Now I use a 5-pound propane, so do the math on that. I've got plenty of power to cook everything I need for a very long time. So it's compatible with these, but you can also add some adapters and make it compatible with some larger ones. That is how I cook with it. Although this is what they recommend on the website, I'm just saying it can work with larger ones. So this adapter for this right here will plug in here on the left side in that port right there. And then if you do expand and get the other little attachment, that will go right there. That is the JetLink output. The really cool thing about that JetLink system there is that you don't have to be running these burners to use that extra thing. You can just use that on its own if you wake up and you just want to make some coffee with that little extra part. This is going to be your control knob on here. Now a lot of systems like this will just have like maybe a few turns, and you know, that's about the articulation you'll get. This one you get so much play. So you can go from completely open to, you know, fully shut off, and everything in between. You've got so much articulation to make your heat exactly what you need. Now, a really cool thing is a lot of other ones I've had, these will go out pretty quickly, or they won't have them. Now I really do like having these because I don't always want to bring a lighter with me, so I've had no issues with this whatsoever. This has probably been the best igniter I've had on any stove, and I can't believe it starts on the first try pretty much every single time.